Just to let you know a little bit about myself, I am an original Texan. My family I'm probably a fifth generation or more gardener, horticulturalist. I was one of the first African-American master gardeners in Austin, Texas. It was two that started 26 years ago, and I was one of those. My family came to this area in the 1870s to St. John Colony, Texas. Colony, where 6 African-American families came here in 1870 and bought over like 2,000 acres of land. And my family on both sides were original to this colony, St. John Colony. And I'm back home. And how I got here at Austin Botanical Garden is because I work at the wonderful Carver Museum. Has anyone had the opportunity to see the Carver Museum? We have a beautiful pool at the Carver that had been decommissioned 15 years ago. It's been encased in concrete. It's just been sitting there. And my boss, whose name is Carrie Adams, had the wonderful idea to revive this pool and put garden beds all around it. And it sat there for maybe 5 years, just completely empty. And he interviewed me, and I was like, always wanted to be a Carver. I actually came to the Carver Museum with my kindergarten class at 5. And we took a walk down 11th Street, and we went to the genealogy center. And I was just a little girl. But seeing that old building happened to make me fall in love with architecture. And I went on to help my grandfather in Austin in the early 80s called Rudy's Kitchen. And we were doing farm to table then. My grandfather was growing all the peas and the corn and the squash and tomatoes and the onions on the farm. And I was the oldest grandkid, and all my parents' siblings were gone. It was just my mom's youngest brother and myself on the farm all summer. So my grandfather would have me out there picking peas, picking corn, going gather eggs. I was one of those children that got to know what it was like to watch your grandfather milk a cow. My grandmother used to sit me in the kitchen and put a butter churn in front of me and have me sitting there in the early 70s. And when I grew up, I was so sick of the farm. I said, I'm gonna leave here. I'm gonna be an actress. I'm never coming back to the garden. So I did that. I got full scholarship to go to Boston University School of Fine Art and study theater. And I got there doing Shakespeare, of all things. Falling in love with the Renaissance gardens, the beauty of England, all the, formal gardens. I started just reading about formal gardens and studying Italian gardens and just fell in love with gardening. And that's how I got back to loving gardening and theater. But I absolutely love it. The lecture I prepared for you today is called The Nature of the Garden. I found myself in Atlanta, Georgia, about 10 years ago, and I'm a landscape designer. And one of my jobs was I was a merchandiser for one of the big box store, a company that supplied all the tropical plants for, I'm not going to say which one, but throughout the Mid-South region, I was buying thousands of tropical plants for these box stores and having to meet trucks and doing designs and bringing in hundreds of tropicals and this and that. And they used to refer to these mass plantings as plant material. plant material. And I just never liked the way that sound. It took the love away from plants, the nurturing away from plants. And I just want to tell you a little bit about that. I was unfortunately charged with the responsibility of throwing hundreds and hundreds of huge composter daily. And as a master gardener, that just really tugged at my spirit, you know? At the slightest hint of any minor imperfection or damage, even healthy plants had to be taken off the shelf and replaced with new, fresh plants. It always hurt me to throw away things that were just had minor damage. The loss of each plant eventually weighed on me, and I had to walk away from that position. It is not always about money, but it's about purpose. I long to pursue my passion to nurture plants, design gardens, plant gardens, and create sustainable food forests, and to teach food sustainability. In order to do these things, I had to immerse myself into horticulture and find out what my true goals and passions were. I didn't want my legacy to be how many plants I destroyed, but yet I wanted my legacy to be how many seeds, how many trees, how many gardens I planted. That is what I longed for, to create gardens, to farm, to create a place to bring people back to nature and back to themselves, and to help people. I spent many hours walking into nature, walking parks, being by the lake, and going back to my grandfather's old farm. I eventually knew that I would inherit 7 of his 48-acre parcel that he had left me in the 70s, but it was not separated, and I didn't even know where to begin. The first thing I did was to stake claim in my heart by getting to know the land. I spent days walking through the forest, immersing myself in nature and getting to know the land by walking, find the creeks, where they began, where they ended, looking at the swells and the berms, finding the property lines, getting to know where the sun set and the sunrise began and ended. Getting in touch with the land worked hand in hand with getting in touch with my own soul. If one's mission is to be in nature, it can only truly, if one's mission is to be in nature, it can be a truly lonely experience. I found myself longing to be alone in the woods with my loppers, fully seeing what my mesquite branches, absent the wayward hackberry trees, the thorny vines that threatened to be legal. I didn't realize that finding my peace was filling in the missing pieces of myself. Hearing the quiet hush of the forest was also the communication that I needed to see something bigger in my own thoughts. Once I filled up my empty space, I was filled with something even greater. I was filled with the possibilities. By finding time with myself, it filled me with the quiet strength that said, I am enough. As community garden coordinator for the Carver Museum, I was tasked with creating a garden around a decommissioned swimming pool, sunken garden flower bed that had sat empty for 5 years. It was a decommissioned pool encased in concrete, but I was thrilled with the opportunity to bring life to this place. This was the challenge, to make this cultural community garden and to bring nature to this concrete scape. Walking in the woods prepared me to bring nature to the inner city, I was inspired and supercharged with energy because after finding peace within myself, it helped me to free my creative juices. I had peace within myself to follow my own soul's desire for inspiration. I literally had a forest of ideas planted within my own soul, free and ready to be transplanted wherever, for my garden was growing within. Finding the nature of the garden is finding humanity in oneself. To be a great steward of the land, we must make sure that we are healed and living our personal truths. To not be selfish is to make sure that we are whole enough to have something to give back. After accomplishing small goals, I'm going to tell you, I spent a year living off grid. I don't think that I could have done that if it was not for seeking to find something greater within myself. When I set myself free to not put a time limit on how long I would be there, but to be there with the goal to stay there until I accomplished what I searched to do. Moved from a few hours on this project to a month on this and 2 years on that. After accomplishing small goals and to be able to see how I slowly took out the brush, slowly took out the now chairs and pots and tropical plants, creating rooms and letting the land reveal itself slowly and unveil its hidden wonders helped me to see that I was a lot braver than I ever thought I could be. It showed me what I chose to do with my time, with my loneliness, and how working it with the goal helped me to transform more than just my own emotions, and how faith and patience turn vast, untamed space into sacred territory. Finding the nature of the garden is to find humanity and respect for nature itself, which translates to others. My love of nature was able to help me have more respect for even the smallest of creatures. It helped me realize that small changes, small dreams, small gestures can lead to big impact. That is why I love teaching food sustainability. When I teach children and adults to plant seeds, trees, and gardens, it also is planting seeds for a more abundant future for all of us. Because if you do not plant it, is to grow potential for a better future for all, one tiny seed, one tiny thought at a time. Showing the nature of a garden is my life's work, because the best holistic material we can create is a tapestry of life that interweaves humanity with respect for nature itself. Thank you so much. Now I would like to show you our beautiful Carver Sunken Garden. Chocolate on my face. I thought it was me.
All right, we'll share photos here. Let's see.
So I have a few little questions. Can anybody tell me, like, is there some things that inspires you about nature or organic gardening? What are some of the things that nature has helped you with in life? You have an answer? Absolutely, absolutely. I feel that, you know, when we care about what we eat and what we put in our body and where it came from, we're gonna have a lot more care about what we do with this. care if we eat fast food, we don't care how many sodas. You're not gonna care too much about the earth as well. So it all translates in what we give out and what we put in. Can y'all think of some ways that we can help to have a more organic lifestyle? Anybody?
I can just more awareness on the poisonous substances that FDA says it's okay to put in our bodies, and kind of untraining our brains from the recommended nutrition plan, and kind of just understand that everything that comes from the ground is good for us. And it's not coming out of the ground, I continue kind of in moderation.
Yeah, and there's so much that we can continue to learn and go back to. I was just watching something on YouTube yesterday, and this guy saying if you eat a lot of salads and greens, you don't even need deodorant because it's actually cleaning the inside of your body. So let's think about that too. How can we bring more greens daily into our body? We don't have to have a giant garden. When I'm working on my farm now, I have a little small farm that I had to fight for because this generation, my grandfather had left all the grandkids 7 acres and everybody sold but me. And a law firm wanted everybody to sell, and it was to a developer. And I don't want to sell. I'm a gardener. I want a garden. And my family was, no. And the law firm was like, I was like, oh, you can't make me sell. And they're like, oh, yes, we can, Miss Franks. And I fought that. And me walking in the forest, being alone on that farm, fighting those weeds, fighting those bushes, helped me be stronger for a fight with a law firm that says, no, I stake claim to this and I'm gonna keep it. And I don't think I would have been that strong if I didn't go face those weeds. I might have said, oh yeah, it's a whole bunch of mosquitoes. I'm not going out there. But because I stood up for it and I said, staking claim within myself first. Do I have what it takes to fight for this? And the land will speak to you. The trees will speak to you. Has anybody heard of grounding? I think it is so important to take off your shoes, walk in nature, let the microbes get into the bottom of your feet, and be in touch with this earth. Do you know sometimes we might go a year or two and never actually touch our planet with our feet if we don't get out in nature? Is going to ground you to come back to the earth. Anybody have any questions?
So I was in Florida 3 years ago, and I couldn't walk for 3 months. I was in the hospital. My car was constantly just like in my room, in bed, and just so depressed and everything. And finally got outside. It really helped me to just like, getting out in nature. Really just like,
Yeah, absolutely.
And it just like, it completely changes. You just feel better whenever you're just, in nature.
That's so true. And I think that's a great point. And I would encourage to get like a routine, maybe a early morning walk routine, or a morning stretch in the garden routine, or at night, go catch the sunset. Find ways to connect with the planet. Find ways to, I do this. I was just telling somebody that, you know how you have little house plants? I will like eat a pomegranate and like stick little seeds around my house plants. And I did that with some, I have little palm trees going all around plants that I'm gonna go scoop up and stick in a bigger pot. And I love experimenting with just like some of the things I have, and I was just trying it. And now, I'm planning to plant a garden on my farm, and so I have everything in pots. I have all kinds of tropical bananas, tropical alocasias, everything in pots, because I don't have like running water out there yet, so I'm gonna move it out there. So I would suggest to y'all, if you don't have space, whether you're in an apartment, start out in some pots. They have a drainage hole, put a little some rocks, pebbles at the bottom. But start somewhere. You like lettuce, grow your little lettuce. Like a tomato, grow your fat, juicy tomato plant. Get in touch by just starting somewhere. If you like peace, you like a little Zen garden, you might put just a few little small tropicals in your windowsill. Find a way to nurture yourself, because that's what nature is. Finding a way to nurture the nature of you. Okay, thank you. Yes.
May I say something? I'm not originally from Boston. I've just lived here a long time. But when I first moved here in the 80s, you know, there were a lot. All of these shopping centers and developments that we've seen pop up have these names. Many of them are named after the family farm in those areas. So I'm so glad you were able to fight and keep your piece of the land.
My grandfathers on both sides. I was that little girl on the tractor. I was a little girl that this is a peanut plant. This is a tomato. And I'm thankful for that. Even though in my early 20s, and I ran away from it. No, I'm not. You know, really, I'm honestly not that person at all. But it comes, if it's in your blood, it will come back. And I think that we can be multifaceted. Tomorrow, I start teaching ballet at Carver and dance. And I'm going to make a play with the kids called Forest Dance, because I'm still gonna bring this back to nature. Because that is what we have to save our planet. We have to honor our planet. If everybody could talk to 5 people about nature and growing and eating and listening to your body. Get away from that barbecue in Lockhart, Harvé, and put some salads in there this week, you know? But we should not be so harsh on ourselves. We should love ourselves. We should honor our food, bless our food. You know that they did this experiment with water where they will write some positive affirmations on water and freeze it, or some negative things on water and freeze it, and it'll totally change the chemistry of the water just from putting a positive affirmation on the water. So we're part water. How much can negative talk bring us down? And how much can positive talk bring us forward as a people, even if it's a hope for a better future? And so that's what my talk is, to find the nature within you. If we are not so disconnected with the planet by honoring our own love for ourselves, honoring our heart, breathing, moving, dancing, bringing that into your everyday, makes you more connected to this earth. Okay. Want to show me how to show this?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna try to talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, so you can just, you can use the little arrow keys here.
Oh, okay. Oh, was that the first one?
Yes. I'll play
Then
it.
I'll have to play with it.
See, I think it'll start going. I think it's like every 5 seconds. There we go. All right. that's
Okay,
good.
so here is the lovely Carver Garden. And I've been doing that poly thing. I do not like just planting in straight lines, and I've never really liked just a whole 90 tomatoes down the row. I love mixing things. This is a gorgeous artichoke. I teach all different types of kids from ages 5 all the way through high school. In the morning, they will be picking a ton of tomatoes. That's what we did today. And then we go into the culinary kitchen. Last summer's topic was farm to table. So we grew all the food, we go in the culinary kitchen and we'll prepare a Swiss chard salad, or today we made cucumbers, tomatoes and onion, a nice cucumber salad. And the kids, I like tomatoes. They were tearing those tomatoes up. I didn't see any kid that wasn't eating that with a little balsamic vinegar on it. They were absolutely loving it. And so yeah, we learned a little about cooking. I work with so many different groups, like, and we do herb gardening classes, or we'll teach them how to make a little herb thing that hangs in the window for their parents, and they'll take them home. Those are some chives and some dill, oregano. So we have herb beds. I like to mix lots of flowers in the garden, and the garden is doing well. This is some of my lemon balm lemonade that the kids absolutely love. This is Greg Farrar. He's our builder in the garden. That's a Westlake High School that came and volunteered. I do workshops with like AARP. I'm about to teach a fall tropical indoor plant workshop. We also do with Angel culinary mushroom inoculations. My farm in Dale is called Renaissance Ranch at Chateau Rouge. And my goal there is to show the renaissance of farming. And Chateau Rouge is for the blood, sweat, and tears of all that my family as African Americans had to fight to keep this land in Texas, and to sweat. And I was just out there chopping, and I was bleeding from thorns, and I was like, this is blood, sweat, and tears. That's what Chateau Rouge. Beautiful purple sage. So when the School of the Blind for the Blind, or the AARP, whoever comes to the garden, they leave with fresh herbs or tomatoes or a salad, or because it's about sharing, it's about giving, and that's what I love to do. One of the most important things I think about when I started the garden here, some of the beds were like really low because they hadn't been worked. And the number one thing that I believe is really starting with really healthy soil. If you get your soil right, get your soil levels right, you're not too low, you won't have as much problem with insects and bugs. If you have really good, healthy soil. And that was the first thing I did. It was
we have cut off our mushroom spores.
this is me and
Laid
Angel.
them
I
into
didn't know I
our
was going to speak on
bins.
this.
They've already got mushrooms starting to grow on them. See?
So I'm always talking to myself and making videos in the garden. And but yes, I love mixing all different kinds of things together, and it's so true. It does help with the bugs. If I do, we thought some ladybugs were so cute, but they weren't ladybugs. They were the harlequin bugs. And the next day there was like 800,000 of them. And I used some soapy water and some neem oil, and they were gone. That's a nice beet salad with some either rutabaga maybe. I also at Carver do decorating for all the events, for like, you know, flower arrangements, we're always having lots of workshops, gallery openings, This is Linda from Central Texas Gardener, and I absolutely love her, and I absolutely love Central Texas Gardener. And I was really happy to get to be on Central Texas Gardener. These are my babies. Today, we just had a wonderful time at Carver. They worked in the garden. They picked about 20 pounds of tomatoes, and then I am going to do a canning workshop. So I'm blanching all the tomatoes and I'm freezing them for that workshop, getting ready for that. I'm not sure who that is, but Greg, he has built so many. This is my farm table class, so they did still lifes at the end. And we did art exhibit with them. I have some of them that are returning this year. And I think that's one of the most valuable things that I could ever do is get kids into learning where food comes from. And I'm gonna close with this as one of the things that I do with kids. When I have about 20 or 15, however many kids, and I say, go in the garden and go get me a leaf, a flower, something of different colors and different textures, and come back. So they'll be like 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, 7, 8, every age. They'll go out and they'll come back with a little pink petal or a little purple leaf or a little green this or a little blue this. And I say, now look at this stuff. Is it all the same? And they're like, no. Were they all together? Yes. Do they all get along? Yes. Well, that is what we all are. We're different colors, but we are God's garden. And we can all get along. Thank you so much for having me. Y'all have a wonderful day.